Well, I don't know what to say. That was one of the most extraordinary visual journeys. And Bruce, it combined your love of photography, your brilliance, with filmmaking. And so that combination was just a constant unfolding. I mean, that's what I had to say. But I want to ask you that when you happened upon that photography store in Rome, did you know it was there?
No, I was out in the street.
Talking to you.
No, I was out in the street photographing, and Nan was really in the store, and I was photographing this artist, this woman who's a painter, and then all the chefs and the cooks were out in the street, and I was like getting involved with the whole street scene, and then Nan came in and she said, "You've got to see these photographs. Come in now." And I said, "But I'm in the middle of a photograph. I can't." And she said, "No, you've got to come right now." And I did, and that was the discovery that I had made.
Well, I mean, it's all your sensitivity. You know, it's the black and white, the extraordinary images. Every image tells a story.
Oh, thank you.
It was just wonderful. And then from there, it went to seeking out Paolo, de Paolo.
Yes, Sylvia, do you remember you came over to the hotel with your dad?
Uh-huh.
And he was very quiet, and I took some pictures, and and sometimes when you make a film, at least when I do, I always start with photographs, and you just never know how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And you have no preconception about it. But we took a walk with Sylvia and Nan and myself, and then Paulo de Paulo was like miles ahead of us. He has so much energy, and I don't know. I felt something for him, but I wasn't sure what. But I really, really loved the photographs. They reminded me a lot of my dad's photographs and my grandmother's photographs when they went to Europe, and they always came back with these illustrious stories about Italy. And so I thought, oh, this is all coming back to me in like a big wave. And so I just was so enamored. Nan and I have a huge photography collection, and we've been collecting pictures that we loved by great photographers, unknown photographers, photographs we find at flea markets. And I was looking at some of them today, up where we live in Montauk, and I was saying, wow, I'm really happy I have these little treasures.
They are treasures, for sure. And that Paolo had all of this energy. Sylvia, his memory is extraordinary at 94, I mean, as we all are much younger here and can't remember.
He's 97 now.
He's 97.
He actually wanted to come to United States.
Oh, he should have. Would have been great.
But he still cannot believe it. That's all happening. Actually, our life changed so much in the past 5 years because for our entire life, he was hidden working for Carabinieri, never going out, never dinner out, never meeting some actors or no one. My mom is a housewife, and we had the most normal life. So the moment I discovered this past is was shocking, because was kept by both of them like a real secret. And so today is extraordinary. See how he remembers everything. And the moment Bruce started this process, he couldn't just stop. We were saying today with the producer, Eva, that the footage is so like 90 hours because he couldn't stop telling stories. He's been silent for too long.
And Sylvia, it'd be really funny for you to tell everybody about the night in Rome during the Rome Film Festival when the film opened there, because you know, it was pretty wild. And I mean, Rome's my favorite city in the world. And but tell them about your dad that night. How late he stayed.
So the big trust and respect that my father has for Bruce was demonstrated by the fact that we saw the film for the first time at the premiere. And
It was a nerve-wracking experience. Oh, God, incredible.
And yeah, I couldn't move for the next 5 days because my whole body was so
Tense, right?
But it was incredible. The Marina Cicogna was there, and we had like 10 minutes standing ovation, and everybody was crying. And but my father still was saying, "It's really happening. It's a film about myself and made by Bruce Weber," and it was incredible.
You unlocked something in him, Bruce. You unlocked something in him.
Well, Nan and I kind of went home about 2, and I think he went home about 4 in the morning.
We had to take him.
Take him away. I mean, in this last scene during the exhibition, the Valentino shoot, where he sees his world through this small viewfinder. You know, so much of us don't use viewfinders now, but he has that small space. It was just extraordinary how it never left him. Whatever was locked away in him, I don't think ever left him. Do you think so?
I really tried to dig and find it, and I always found it.
Yeah. And he was willing to talk about it.
Yeah, he was really incredibly trusting. I mean, just sort of like what he says to Anna Mignani about her, about what a great feeling that is for anybody, not just a photographer, when somebody trusts you, you know. And I think that's pretty beautiful, especially in friendship. You know.
Bruce, talk a little bit about your choice of music. It was just brilliant because you go from opera to jazz to, I mean, how do you do that?
Wow. I don't know. Well, first of all, I work with an editor like Anthony Sanchez because he's a world wealth of music. And so, TJ, where are you? You're way in the back. He's right over there. You know, we kind of wanted to approach the music as just things that kind of meant something to us, you know. Not particularly every song had to be an Italian song, you know. And I don't know, you know, what did your dad say, like, when we were making the film? How did he feel it was going?
He thought was never going to happen, never become a film. He thought was
we
just.
Didn't either. Yeah.
That happens with films, right?
But also, the way in the beginning, also Bruce wanted to record his memories because he was very curious to know more about this. Being a collector of photography, never heard his name, so he wanted to know more stories. And the more he knew, and the more he wanted to know, and so this little record became a almost 2 hours film, and. I think he was so relaxed and so spontaneous. The entire film is what you see is what he is, just because he felt, you know, it's never going to become a film. So he was having fun and saying to my mother, who doesn't drink at all,
See that in the film.
Can you believe?
He tried to get her to drink that wine.
And so she making fun of her and have a glass of wine. So he was very spontaneous because he thought, can you imagine Bruce Weber making a film about my life? So he thought it was a joke.
Did you just hang out with him, Bruce? I mean, how did you deal with that?
When I take photographs or I make a film, I always think about how you take a photograph of a baby. And if you make it a big deal, and you're like a nervous wreck, and you're thinking, oh God, this baby's crying, and and then the parents are getting all upset, you're creating like almost a volcano of like mixed emotions. And I always just like it to let things just go and take us somewhere.
Just be with it. Just
Yeah,
let it unfold,
Yeah,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to give him the platform with which he could talk, you know, and really express, you know, what that experience was like, you know. I mean, he gave us a great gift, I feel. And I'm forever, you know, just, you know.
You gave us a big
No.
gift, I have to say.
And, but he really let us into his world, and what it meant to be a certain kind of man. You know, it's really interesting today to make a film about a man, because, you know, when I was growing up, I looked up to my dad and my grandfather and my buddies from school, and now, you know, everything's about the women. And you don't, you know, and so all of a sudden I start seeing all these guys walking around and their heads are down and they're not standing it straight up, you know. And so I really was proud to make a film about an extraordinary man who created a great wealth of and a history of his country. So.
Yes, that's for sure. I think there might be some questions in the audience here. Everybody is stunned, you know, it's like being, here's a question.
I'm sorry if I missed this in the beautiful film, but discovering your father had these photographs. Film is very fragile. Where were these negatives and how did they remain as they were?
A good question, and it's kind of a miracle they're preserved, because they were in the basement of our house and kind of humid too. And also boxes and boxes with the vintage prints, and yeah, also there are many negatives, because in only 15 years it took 250,000. We have 250,000 negatives. That will keep the rest of my life busy.
Let's go.
In my house. No, I have a little office. It was my 40th birthday present. The entire archive. He said, "You're the only person who can take care of it." And yeah.
Another question? There's some right here.
This was truly a miracle for all of us to have this incredible discovery about your own father. And for a photographer, for a filmmaker, to be touched by a photographer, sort of similarities in your art form. It was such a gift to both of you and to all of us for you filming this. But I don't think it just happened. I feel like it was a beautiful miracle meant to be at this late age in his life. Like, what an amazing gift for all of us. And whether it's your father or any elderly person we know, it gives you that appreciation of their wisdom at a time where older people are sort of pushed off to the side. So it was so enlightening. Did you feel that it was a miracle?
Well, I don't know. I feel that I'm a really lucky person because of the people close to me, and I always feel that even though I'm not Irish, I feel like I have the luck of the Irish in meeting people. And for instance, Jane, you know this lady I'm going to talk about, Louise Serpa. Nan and I were out in Tucson, and I was at this hotel in the bar, and I saw these extraordinary rodeo pictures, and they were almost like ballet pictures. They just were extraordinary. The horses were almost upside down in the air and everything. So I said, Nan, we got to go and meet this lady. I not only just that I want to buy one, I want to know what this woman's like. So I expected to go out and would go and see some funky house out in the desert, and we went, and it was like this beautiful Louise Barragan kind of house. And this woman walks out, just beautifully dressed in a black skirt and a white, beautiful old white shirt and a great belt and really short hair. And her name was Louise Serpa. And she was a great, great photographer. And she grew up and went to Vassar College, and she sang in the Glee Club there. And she met a cowboy, and she moved out west, and she had 2 daughters. And one morning she woke up, and the cowboy was gone. So she had to go out and buy food and film and everything so that she could continue. And so she drove to all these different rodeos, you know, in this old station wagon. She had 1 camera body, and she became the first woman accredited in the National Rodeo Association. But she took some of the greatest photographs of horses that were ever taken. And I think if Nan and I didn't have that curiosity and that hunger to experience what other people feel about why they can love something, then I think I was very lucky. Yeah.
We can take another question if there is a question. Yes?
How many formats did you shoot to capture this?
We used a lot of different formats. Oh gosh, you know
You shot digitally and on film as well, right?
We shot whatever we could with whatever we had. By that I mean is that this is like the nightmare of every director when somebody says, "What did you shoot?" and getting the, because you know you're just grabbing any camera, any film camera. Hey, do you have an extra roll of film? You know, I mean, so we shot a lot of different kinds of formats, and it's, you know, and sometimes, you know, Paulo had so much energy in the filming that we just didn't know, like, if we were going to be able to keep up with him. You know what I mean? You know, and he was our guide, definitely, and he, you know, and it was funny. A lot of filmmakers go into a project that's so well conceived, and I think that's really great. I don't have that. I go in and go, well, God, I don't know. It's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to use? Let's go there. Like that first day with your dad, you know, up at his house, and we weren't ready to start, and I thought, well, here I am, an American. I don't speak Italian. I'm in Rome. I'm making a film.
You love Italy. You love Italy.
I'm making a film with an Italian man who does not speak English, right? And I thought, and I have, you know, Luca and his son Guido there, and I have you, and I thought it was my translators, and we didn't know what we were doing, and I like that sense of aliveness in making a film.
It comes across in the film. Yeah. Can I just quickly ask you about that beautiful scene, 3/4 into the film, about the procession in Meru, was it? The little town? Beautiful. I mean, at night, you know, it was just mystical. I love that.
Well, that's thanks to a young guy who I knew from Montana who worked with me a long time, Theo Stanley, and he has all kinds of gadgets and little cameras and big cameras, and you know I never know what he's going to use, but we talk about it sort of after the case, you know, and really being able to work with an editor, you know, like TJ, who's so open and doesn't totally freak out, you know, that you're bringing all these things there. I've worked with a lot of editors, you know, who want to know what they're getting and when they're getting it, and we never sort of work that way anymore.
You let it happen. I mean, you can inject these jewels in the film, but it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
So, do you want to say anything more about anything?
Just thank you.
Well, first I want to thank Nan for finding that store. And thank Bruce for an eye that is exquisite, that resonated with Paolo.
But as she rightly said, it was meant to happen because it was so many coincidences, and we couldn't hope nothing more special than having Bruce Weber telling this story. And my father didn't want to become famous, never even mentioned he was a photographer. And so now it will be remembered forever, I hope.
Forever.
And
yes.
this is...
Thank you so much. This was just great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.